Hello everyone, it's Chris here. Welcome to the book show. Spread the word, tell your mates about it. Get hold of the books if you can. Especially Oath of Evil, The War on Protestantism. Try and get it in hold of paper. Because when you have it, and once you have it, you've got it. And yes, it's updated now and then, but the content is 99% the same. Why am I mentioning it within seconds here of this one, which is actually about Codename Deborah? Because, we make these videos many months ahead. But day to day, I think is 16 or 17 June or whatever. If it's 16 June, it's Soweto Day with the riots. But just this week, Israel attacked, a very sneaky attack without a declaration of war. Very scandalous, actually, pathetic indeed. If you talk about honor. They attacked Iran and they tried to wipe out their leadership group. Don't know why. Don't know why. It's not a cult, it's an actual army. So if you kill one general, another one will replace him. Yeah, it's easy. You idiots. But I don't know who comes up with such enormously stupid ideas. It didn't help you at all. And then, of course, what happened is that everybody was extremely happy because everybody hates Iran. Why? Why do you hate Iran? Tell me. Tell me who's the Sunni terrorists? Al Qaeda, ISIS. We're all Sunni Muslims. Does Iran support Sunni Muslim terrorists, jihadis? Want to cut your throat off, cut your head off. Do they support them? Well, if you listen to me and you actually read my books and you're a bit more awake than most, you will know that Iran is the enemy of the Sunni terrorists. They attack them, they kill them. So they should be logically on the side of the West, who's fighting with the Sunni jihadis. Because, as I said to you many times, Iran is a Shia nation, it's not Sunni. Which is why they're so hated by the Sunnis as well. They see it as a sect, like Protestantism is a sect of the Catholic Church in their eyes. Because we say they were first beast of the Bible and America is the second beast, and we also say that the Pope is an Antichrist. Yeah, we say these things. That's a Protestantism view. It's watered down these days, of course. People are too scared to say it anymore, but does that take away the truth? No. Read Oath of Evil. But anyway, so Iran struck back, and it's hammering. It's hammering Israel. And as predicted, Iron Dome didn't work. No. It's designed to work against a mortar or a crude homemade missile coming from somewhere. Being shot at it a few at a time. Yeah, it can deal with that. So what? It's based upon the closed-in weapon system, the CIWS, which all warships has. You just track it, you shoot it down, and it's easy. And you can even up to a point deal with a ballistic missile, but not a lot of it. Not a lot of it. And then, of course, there's hypersonic, which the West simply don't have. You don't have it. Donald Trump, America's got the best weapons. Oh, shame. Really? You do? You do? I think I saw your Abrams tanks burning in Iraq. Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah, then I saw your Mickey Mouse version of the Abrams tanks. Virtually all of them wiped out in Ukraine. Yeah. Interesting, these things, huh? All the hype and no substance. It's amazing. I've been warning about it for just for so many years. But read American Military Might Debunked, and you'll wake up to reality. As you're going to wake up now. Anyway, Israel is then being pounded by ballistic missile strikes. And of course, they're fighting back as good as they can. We know they're being refueled by France and by the UK and Germany. Yeah, there we go, Germany. And we also know that the US is now flying a whole bunch of tanker aircraft in, because there's no way that the Israeli Air Force has the range to get to Iran and bomb it and come back. Yeah, they don't. So, yeah, they had some successes, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, as we sit here today, Israel is taking losses, which they cannot take it. It's that simple. We're not used to it. And so, of course, the US will get involved and they will try and help, and then Russia might get involved as well, because they There's a defensive treaty. Yeah, yeah. And then we don't know what's going to happen. Why do I mention these things, guys? And this is months later. I might be just talking nonsense, so you can laugh at me. But it's a good thing to get on record, because if you read Hope of Evil and some other of my books, you will find out about a fellow called Albert Pike. Yeah, don't look him up. Albert Pike. Now, Albert Pike is a man who's like the, yeah, I don't want to say the, yeah, how can I? Albert Pike is recognized as the guy who knows the most about the occult and Satan worship than anybody else in the world. And he wrote a book in the 1870s called Morals and Dogma. I'll put a slide in for you here. Morals and Dogma is one of those books which you can't get hold of in its full book. You can get hold of parts of it. It will look like a book, but the major parts are not there. You can get hold of it if you're part of the occult and you are quite high in the occult, and as they say, you arrive. And once you arrive, probably by having homosexual sex on a cross, like some of these Catholic organizations did in the old days, and probably today as well. What did I know? But that's what those who escape these cults actually testify to. Yeah. And once you arrive, they give you these books and you can read it. And I know a lot about it because I spoke to some people who actually did read it, who got hold of these books without begging and touching their toes, Anyway, it's fascinating because it's in Morals and Dogma where this fellow, Albert Pike, starts speaking about 3 world wars, 3 of them. And he started talking about that about 40 years before the First World War happened. Now, the First World War, he said, was to break the British Empire. Why? I know, guys, we don't like the Brits much. We don't like the British Empire with every reason in the world because of concentration camps during the Boer War. But we also have to say, and I do say this in my books, that they did bring Christianity to Africa and where they also went. Even though Church of England is a copy of a Catholic church, it is nothing like it used to be when it started out as a Protestant church. It's one of the whore's daughters. Where the Bible speaks about the whore of Babylon. Yeah, the Catholic system. Where it talks about that it's got children, got daughters. Yeah, those are the Christian churches was following the Sunday worship and implementing all the traditions and nonsense of a Catholic church, instead of just following what the Word of God says, the Bible, Sabbath day. I'm not going to explain that again. I know it annoys the hell out of people. See the care in my eyes. I don't care. I tell you, you can go and read the book, or you can do some research on your own, or go and listen to other people who knows more about this than me, Walter Weiff. Many other people. Just do some research and you'll be damn surprised what you find out. And it will change your life if you take it to heart. But the fact is, they wanted to break the British Empire because the Brits are the guys who actually were then seen as a Protestant nation and a great one. A great one. Let there be no doubts about it. And the British Empire did a lot of good as well. Oh, shocking. Yeah, I know. Shouldn't say such things. No. But actually they did. They did a great amount of good. And things actually worked on them. Yeah, they were trains, these things with chuk. Yeah, they actually worked, Yeah, interesting. Roads, without potholes, yeah. These things worked. Hospitals, yeah, they actually worked. Interesting. Not saying the British Empire should return, but there was a very definite reason why these satanic people, these Satanists, was getting the instruction from Satan himself, would want to destroy Protestant empire. It's logical. That's why they would want to do it. And so Albert Pike then predicted that, and if you look at his letters which he wrote, he definitely said they want to break the British Empire. And of course they want to take revenge on Germany. Why? Because Germany is where the Protestant movement started. Yeah, there were other movements before. I mean, we talk about Jan Hus and Bohemia and places like that, but it really started with Martin Luther. And that's in Germany. And of course, they want revenge. If you're from Satan and you had your system running and the whole world is praying to you instead of God, and they don't even know it, and you've got it controlled, and you've got a total fascist regime going there. Yeah, man, you would, of course, you would be angry with people like Martin Luther and the rest of the Protestants. Yeah, you would try to destroy them. You might even cause some people to create a military order inside the church to actually destroy Protestantism. Yeah. It's what do you call it? The Society of Jesus. Yeah, which Jesus? It's not the Jesus of Nazareth, but anyway. Yeah. What else do we call themselves? Oh yeah, Jesuits. Jesuits. In Afrikaans, you call it Jesuite. Yeah, I can make a few words from that, which is very insulting. Yeah, created to destroy Protestantism, and they've been killing hundreds of millions since 1538 or whatever. To do exactly that. And even today, you find them with Loyola. Yeah, the spiritualness of Loyola. I write about these things. The point I'm making is that the First World War did take place. Then the Second World War, according to Albert Pike, would also take place to bring the US, to make the US a major country. Because up to then, the US had nothing. Really, just a very big place with wild people there. And, you know, but it wasn't a world power at all. But it had to become a world power. And it became one after 1945. Yes, it did. And once you see these things and you start realizing how your cult works, and you see how these things play out in history, then you have to ask yourself a question. Are we now at the Third World War? What did this fellow, Albert Pike, what did he say? Where will the Third World War start? Middle East, Israel. Yeah. And then afterwards, Israel was created by man, not by God. Bible says you would be left desolated. And it was. If you look at what happened to Jerusalem AD 70, another Bible prophecy which played out. Now, guys, please don't put words in my mouth. I'm not saying that the Jews have no right to exist. I don't say they should be wiped out. I'm not saying such things at all. You know anything about me or my books, especially this one we're going to talk about just now, you will know I have great sympathy, and you know I have a lot of Jewish blood in me. And you know what's Rebecca, just listen to her name. And look at the other books I wrote of the When and Where series about rescuing Jews out of Nazi-occupied France. Don't come with such crap to me. I will sue you. There's no doubt. I will sue you if you come out of such things. And the fact is, though, that things are playing out according to a satanic version. Now, it's also very interesting in 1968, all these things are an hope of evil, guys. Some of them started making predictions and said that in the year 2025, these satanic people, the occult, will start revealing themselves. Yeah. Well, it's been an eventful year, hasn't it? Very eventful. Very eventful. So, as we sit here today, we wonder what's going to happen. And luckily, by the time that you look here and you watch here, I might have made a complete fool of myself, which is fine. Not a problem. But we have to look at these things if we want to understand what's happening in the world. And let's hope I'm wrong. Let's hope that America is not that stupid, but they are actually not bright people at all. I've showed you numerous times in numerous videos that they have a reading capacity of a standard 6 cell, which means that's how far they can understand and argue. Oh, imagine you have an entire country with nuclear weapons, totally not stable, unstable, hating each other because of a Hegelian dialectic, and thinking they are much more mightier than what they actually are. And they react like a klomp bakvissies, like a standard 6 girl and a standard 6 boy. It's a pity what they've done to that country, isn't it? The mightiest Protestant country the world has ever seen, and now this. Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about Codename Deborah. It's an interesting book. Now, Codename Deborah is actually the last book in the series up to this point. They might, I don't know, in the future, perhaps I might write one afterwards, but not really. I'm not really seeing myself doing that, but you don't know, because let me explain to you once again, when you write a book, The book actually writes itself in your head. And then from there on, it's for you to just put the book on paper. It's really not a difficult thing to do. There's nothing to do. And it's just a matter of sitting on your ass, and a week or two later, the book is there. But Deborah was written as number 11 in the book, even in the series, even though it's actually the last book. Now, by this time, our heroes, Foxtrot and Angelique, happily married. They have twins about 4 years after the events of VFO 565. And Angelique realizes that she doesn't have a wedding. She never had a wedding. Now, most of you who actually read VFO 565 will know two things. One is that it's the first written book. In other words, it's a book which I wrote first. And it is a love story between Foxtrot and Angelique. It's actually the one where she is detained illegally. It's the difference between detention and arrest, right? And I do explain it in that book. And she's detained, and then Foxtrot actually rescues her, and they escape from the country. They jump onto a French submarine because Angelique's always been a French agent, penetration agent for her entire life. And once they're on the submarine, Foxtrot, this is not described really in any book. It is in some of the books, there's mention of it, what actually happened on the submarine. But they get married. They get married on the submarine. The captain actually married them. And Angelique then disappears for a few years, for about 2 years, year and a half. We think in Corsica, I believe that's where the real one went as well. Simply because the Foreign Legion paratroopers are there, and it's not easy for you to penetrate Corsica to go and make trouble there. You will definitely have problems in life, but she could have been anywhere else. I don't know. I really don't know. But the fact is, she's there, and then the Eggbreaker War starts in codenamed Puara Angelique. And I spoke about these things before. But now it's 4 years later. It is after the Eggbreaker War. They've been married for 4 years. They're relatively peace now. They know about a wedding which is taking place in France from one of the characters, Commodore Octavius, and one of the French female fighter pilots. It's all in the books of the Eggbreaker series. I don't want to go into it, but they go into France. They go there to attend a wedding. During the wedding, a Mossad agent, a friend of theirs called Arik arrives. He's been shot, and he says he's got a message for them. And basically, they saved him because they go back many, many years. It starts in codename Angel, actually, where Arik first appears. And Arik has a wife called Deborah Arik. And Deborah is actually the one in charge of that unit, of that team. Let's call it a team. I have other words for it, but I made it simple in the books. Let's call it a team. People ask me, do these people exist? The answer is absolutely flippant yes. They do exist, and I have great respect and admiration for them. I worked with them many, many times. I have no clue where they are now. I did have contact with them briefly last year when they asked me to stop and desist from recording the Israeli view of what's happening with their troubles in October. Simply because it was taken out of context. There was one guy we recorded, and suddenly some horrible people from the liberal side, they just took some of his words totally out of context. They just basically stole our video. They gave us no credit. It's totally illegal, but I don't give a shite. They refer to Legacy Conversation as an obscure website somewhere. I suppose we are. We've got a couple of million views, which we know about, but if you listen to what I said in the video of Jim Reeves on Legacy, you will know that we have reason to believe we got a lot more than a couple of million views. We're being heavily suppressed, but anyway, they were very insulting. Obscure webs with YouTube site or whatever. Anyway, so they took words out of his mouth and they started by using it for propaganda. And then I was asked by Deborah to stop doing it, and so I did. That's what happened. I'm not going to explain to you how I arrived here in Phuket and gave me the fright of my life. That's not important. Point is, that's why I stopped. Because again, I'm not against Israel at all. People don't understand my words, and they obviously, if you have a standard 6 uh, brain and you can't argue and you can't think further than your little nose, then of course you will jump to conclusions which is wrong. The horrible thing about that is, guys, is that these people actually are empowered to kill. Yeah, they can order strikes on you, they can do all sorts of things because they think like a standard 6 child. They have summarized the US White House for you completely. Anyway, so Deborah basically intercepts an aircraft with Angelica flying back to Africa now after they've attended a wedding, and then certain things happen. Now, right, what happens here is I wanted to bring the Ratel, the fighting vehicle. I wanted to bring it to the attention of the world. And so I wrote the book in the sense that there are Ratels, 2 of them aboard this aircraft, which is a big cargo aircraft, Russian one. And it's intercepted basically. They're forced to land somewhere. Deborah is waiting there. They need to take those Ratels to go and do certain things. As it happens, Foxtrot and Gilsang was the other main character. I actually do know a bit about the Ratels. They did a course in the army, so they can quickly train these guys up. And then they attack a terrorist base there somewhere in North Africa with the Ratels. Now, that's the story. Now, of course, on Legacy Conversations, I'm not sure if it's out yet, but go and look for it. There's an entire series on Ratels, which we've done with Brigadier General Tony Savides, who's retired now, wonderful man, he and his wife Marlene, fantastic people. They fed me, and I spent a lot of time with him recording, and you can see the entire series, where the Ratel comes from, what the Ratel looks like inside, how it was developed, how it was used. Yeah, it's just fantastic. Go and look there. But there's links in this book as well to those episodes. But I make an interesting point here because I know something about the armor officers in South Africa. They are breed on their own. They're really something else. You have something which is interesting. You have the Russian and the Prussian, you say that correctly, the German, Prussian outlook on war. The Russian sees war as a science. It's a mathematical thing. If you listen to the analysts talking on Legacy, not Legacy, but on YouTube, you'll find they always quote figures. They're like, yeah, all right, we have so many shells, we got to do that. They work it out as a mathematical possibility. In other words, if I fire so many shells at you and it lands in approximately that area, I'm going to break you and I'm going to move forward. That's how they figure things out. Well, the Germans has seen it somewhat differently. They also do the technical thing, of course, in German, but they see it as an art. They see it as instinct. They feel that you must have a feeling for the battle. You need to feel it. You need to understand. I'm talking top commanders now. Now, funny enough, Bernard Law Montgomery also had that idea. He followed the system of the Germans, where he would go to the front, get the feeling for the battle, meet the people, make sure things are running. Rommel did it as well. And then they leave their chief of staff behind to run operations. And once he started the battle, Montgomery wouldn't change it easily. But he could, as we saw at El Alamein. The South Africans, armor officers, combine these two things. They see logistics first and foremost. They always know how far their vehicles can go, how much ammo they have left, the state of their men, the state of their vehicles, enemy forces. They know all these things. But then they have Elan. They have this. They have spirit. They like. They aggressive to a point of insanity, and with that they create shock and awe, which is the American thing, But we know how the Americans operate. It's in many of my books. What they would do is they arrive, they go to a friendly country, then they build up their forces, then they start attacking. Yeah, you try that against the First World military, see how they kick your ass. Because you will not be allowed to build up like that. It's destabilizing. And even South Africa has plans. If you start building up like that in, say, Botswana, Yeah, we know how to destroy you before you've been built up. And that's the only way to do it. Of course, a lot of you will say to me, destroy with what? Well, guys, I'm not talking, I'm not a spokesperson for the South African National Defence Force, really not. I think they starved of funds, I think they're screwing up. But I also know there's very good units there. Don't believe a TikTok shite which you send to me every 5 minutes. I'm not interested. Please, don't do it. Don't do it. But anyway, so they go in with tremendous force, these armor. When they go in, they have long-range artillery, they have special forces around, they have artillery strikes. Artillery strikes, we made videos on that entire series as well, on the G5, the G6, and also the multiple rocket launch systems. So you can go and look at that. Also, Colonel Pierre Franken, as well as Major General, actually, Major General Wim Koos Bom Laubscher. Yeah, go and listen to that. You'll find out something how they do it. It's amazing. But anyway, in the book, I'm explaining this, and I'm explaining how the South African armor would work. And in a later book, which I already discussed, Code Name 1 Alpha, I actually look at the battle group. I look at what the battle group looks like and how it would operate and how you would use it. And it's really, it's amazing. It's combined operations. So that's what DEVRA is about. They have to, they sort of Shanghai into helping the Israelis. They do help the Israelis. It also comes out in DEVRA why Angelique's first husband died. A sad story, but that also happened. Like I say, many of these things are actually built upon or wrote upon actual events, or it's wrote upon scenarios. You know, it could have happened, didn't happen perhaps, but the plans are there for it to happen. You understand what I mean? So that's what it's about. So if you like about armor, good stories, fast-moving armor, doing things, yeah, fantastic. Especially since I believe Angelique then is, while Foxtrot and Kielsang is going out with the Ratels to help the guys. Angelique is shot down with a security team, and they parachute to safety, and now they're surrounded by the jihadis, and Foxtrot has to come back to rescue her, which is one of the greatest scenarios I've ever seen in my life. But you can read it yourself. I'm not going to be bothered. Don't want to spoil the book for you. But there is something else I want to talk to you about. A lot of you would have read some of my books by now, and you do know that it repeats in certain ways. If there's something which I think is important enough to be in every book, then it will be in every book. Simply because, guys, I don't know how many of the 54 books as we sit here you've actually read. You might have read 2, you might have read 1, or you might have been completely new here, or you might have read 20. And if you read 20, you will definitely forgive me for repeating myself, because you would be, I hope, clever enough, and I know clever enough to understand I'm repeating these things for new readers. I'm not doing it just because I'm lazy and I don't want to type 2 or 3 pages, really. When you've written millions of words and tens of thousands of pages, 2 or 3 pages is not going to bother you. Even though I type with 2 fingers, you know, type. But it's easier these days. Anyway, there is something I repeat in every book, and it goes back to what's happening in the Middle East right now. In 2020, GMJ was removed from Facebook. I actually banned, and then afterwards they restored it, and I told them to F off with no uncertain terms. And I also realized, of course, and I knew this from the beginning, that all these social media companies, they are nothing but spies. They just collect information, and that goes directly to the CIA and actually NSA. I don't know such agency, by God. Sure. Yeah. And then they actually see where your sympathies lies. It's fascinating to see, guys. If you read OSTM, I still have to make a video on it, OSTM, codename OSTM, you will see how they hunt spies. And you will see how counter-espionage operations are actually conducted. and you will find the investigation behind it. It's extremely simple, but it's fascinating because basically what they do is they use software. In South Africa, it used to be called Memex, 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 but there's others around now, where you would investigate crime syndicates. So what happens is it would take a mass of information. In other words, let's say they have your file there on Facebook. And now I can see, oh, you made comments here on the verse. Oh, you're Israeli supporter. Oh, no, you are Hamas supporter. Oh, no, you're sympathetic to this guy. Oh, you made a sarcastic comment here on this. So we can quickly figure you out, man. It is easy. And then we see these things start linking. Oh, you went there. You went there. Oh, you made this. Oh, you contacted that guy. Now I'm adding your cell phone records. I'm adding your WhatsApp. Yes, WhatsApp, Telegram. Yes. Signal. Oh, you mean the company which was started by CIA? Funding money, that one. Yeah, Signal, it's safe, huh? Yeah. And then those few who operate in Switzerland, you know, the ones who say they have the greatest privacy laws in the world. Tell me, you flippin' swine, when you walk down the street, and I've walked in your streets, I was there for 3 years, and you see these cameras everywhere, on the lamppost and everywhere. Yeah. Do you think they're broken, or do you think that perhaps the Swiss police, those little swine police of theirs, the intelligence service, you roll my eyes, shame, all 5 of them. You think they perhaps watching you? Huh? Are they spying on you? Huh? Yeah. Those cameras, yeah. They're totally astonished. You ask them these things, they're like, uh, uh, perhaps I also have a reading capacity of a 14-year-old soul. No, I would give him 15 years, 15, 16 years. I'm not like people at all. Not the least. Don't people shit it by them. I worked with a few of their attorneys. Oh, please. Then I went to a few of their medical doctors. Couldn't answer even basic questions. Couldn't. And they all say, oh, we speak English. Oh, no. Your English is worse than mine. You're pathetic. Can't even speak English. Shame. But it's after 12 years at school, right? They can't even speak English. I think most of us, when we left school, we could help ourselves with English. Yeah, we could. Anyway, don't believe that story that Switzerland is neutral or that it's, privacy laws. You're bullshitting yourself. Anything and everything you do online, guys, how many times must I warn you? It's being intercepted somewhere, it's being kept somewhere, the internet never forgets, and it's being analyzed somewhere if needs be. So the moment that Facebook then did that, I closed the account and I just walked away. Now, I know, of course, it's not closed. If I go back now and I type in GMJ and I want to make it alive again, it will be miraculously, it will be there. Oh, yeah, it was deleted. No, it's still there, still on their servers. Delete to them doesn't mean the thing is physically wiped. It's not there anymore. No, it just means you can't access it, but it's still lying there. You get the difference. It's like a library. Here's a book. It's still there. I haven't opened it yet, so I don't know what's inside. Well, in fact, I wrote the book, so I know what's inside. But you know what I mean? Same thing. So why did they ban me? Because I wrote an article on my website when it was still in existence, because I'm not paying $200 a year for a website or even $150. I'm not doing it. It's not worth it. I might do a sales. I might do it, but right now, ain't worth it. Need that money for something else. And even there, if I go to my website, I can just reactivate it immediately because I still have a domain. It's paid 5 years ahead. But I wrote an article there, a blog, I suppose you can call it, and I was very angry. And I said this murder of Iranian Republic Guards, what do you call them, IRGC, Soleimani, by the US drone strike. I said it's illegal on the war, and I said it's murder. That happened on the 3rd of January 2020, and it was why? Why did it happen again? Benjamin Netanyahu, what do you call it? Netanyahu, right? Benjamin Netanyahu, whatever. got a different name, of course. The Polish name is not his actual name, but it's the name they use. The Prime Minister of Israel. It was on his insistence. So what happened? The Soleimani guy was actually in charge of counter-terrorism efforts against who? Al Qaeda and ISIS. Yeah, yeah. You know the guys who attacked the Twin Towers? Yeah, yeah. The guys who cut the heads of people? Yeah, yeah. You know the guys who attacked France in Paris 2015? You know the guys behind every single attack, but virtually every single attack in the West? The terrorism attack, the jihadi attack? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he was attacking them. Yeah, he was actually working with the US and even Israel was working with them to wipe these people out. Yeah, Iranian general. And then suddenly he got drowned. Yeah. And why was he there in Iraq at that stage? Because he was on a mission to talk to the Iraqi prime minister. Yeah, he was invited. There was a guarantee given of his safe conduct. And he died in that vehicle with a US drone strike in Iraq, different country. Murder. It's what it is. It's murder. With two other, I think, Iraqi generals as well. Yeah, an act of war. If Iraqis had more manhood than what they actually have, they would have declared war on the US. Right there. Right there. Imagine it's different, guys. Let's say Russia or somebody go and kill a US general inside Washington on the way to see the. No, let's make it the same as happened in Iraq. Let's say they killed a US general on the way to see the Iraqi Prime Minister. After the Iraqi Prime Minister actually invited the guy to come and speak to them, and now comes a Russian or a Chinese drone and he just kills him. What do you think the US is going to do? What do you think? What do you think? Huh? It's interesting, the second beast of the Bible. It's a disgusting country. It's become a disgusting country. It's sad. It's sad to see that because we used to look up to the US, you know. We saw them as a beacon of freedom. Well, they ain't anymore. Not in my eyes. Became the second beast of the Bible. So we're going to act like a second beast. Point is, there is no legal justification whatsoever for the drone strike on Soleimani. Nothing. Nothing. There's nothing whatsoever. And what did it help you? Tell me, what did it help you? And even if you did it, and since you think like a standard 6 child, you just lashed out. What did it help you? Did it stop ISIS? Tell me, idiot. Tell me, who's in charge of Syria today? Who would that be? Tell me. Oh, it is. It's Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda is now in charge of Syria. Yeah. Helped you, huh? Really helped you. Yeah, but you see now, Chris, because now we can fly with Israeli Air Force right across Syria. Yeah, and then we can go bomb in Iran. Yeah, you can do that. That's why Israel was attacking all the Syrian air bases after Syria fell. After Syria fell. That's why they were doing it. It's quite clear now. It's exactly why they did it. At one stage, the Turkish Air Force was a major air force. Was thinking of moving into Syria, and then suddenly they moved out. Yeah, why? Oh, we know why. Lack of manhood. Erdogan. Lack of manhood. That's your problem. So anyway, I'm not an Iranian supporter. Don't put words in my mouth. Go and read over Codename Angel. Go and read Codename Angel, where we actually clash with them in that book. And I describe a lot of them, and I've written other books under my own name as well. Well, I'm not a supporter of them at all. In fact, I find the way they treat their people, and especially women, disgusting. But on the other hand, fair is fair. And it's my opinion that they were wrong. They were wrong. The US was wrong to attack Soleimani. And they are bloody well wrong to support Israel to attack a country without a declaration of war because they can defend themselves. No. What you did there is against the UN Charter. It's against the rules of war. And there's no consequences for you because of that. And there's every chance of a Third World War because of that. And you know what pisses me off most about it? It's because you don't even realize it, but you're playing in the hands of your cultists. You're being used, you're being played. And tell me, Israel, tell me, my Israeli mates, what are you going to do when the US runs away, like it always does? It's its only track record which you can actually depend upon is the US is going to run for home. At some stage, the US is going to say, oh my God, oh, we have to run. Oh gosh, oh. And then we run home. Yeah, we saw that. It's disgusting. So we ran for home. And now you know, nobody likes you anymore. Where you had sympathy with the world before, you have nothing now. What you cannot get into bed with a loser like the US and think you're going to win. Australia, wake up. Wake up. New Zealand, wake up. UK, oh, shame. Yeah, anyway. You know, it's not a bad thing to have enemies. It was Winston Churchill who said, you have enemies, that's good. It means you stood up for something, sometime in your life. I don't like Winston Churchill, you know that. I think he's an idiot who got lucky, a shyster, war criminal. In fact, all the reasons in the world why I say so. Read my books. But he did come out with some fantastically clever things, and this is one of them. Let me read it to you again. Winston Churchill said, you have enemies. Good. It means you stood up for something, sometime in your life. I have enemies. I have a lot of enemies. My views on the US made me banned out of that country. My views on Israel that, being used and abused by the US and attacking countries without reason does not make me popular at all. In fact, there's a lot of my Jewish friends who's very angry about my views. But the thing is, you have to stand up. You have to stand up at some stage, guys, and you have to talk. And that's what I'm doing. It's like I say in my books. And I quote Martin Luther when he was on trial for his Protestant views, where he said something like, here I stand. I can do no other. Why couldn't he do anything else? Because the Bible told him, this is the way it is. And the Catholic Church, the first beast, the evil system, the Catholic system, not the Catholic himself. How many times must I explain this to you? The Catholic system itself, is satanic. It is sun worship. I have all the evidence, otherwise I wouldn't say this. Go and read Oath of Evil. Go and look at Walter White. Go and look at the other great evangelists and the older guys, not the new ones, because they compromised every single one of them. Go to church on a Sunday, you're compromised, man. You're carrying the mark of a beast on you. Nothing you say to me will ever impress me. I won't even listen to you. You don't know. You just don't know the truth. But anyway, go and listen to those guys. That's exactly what they say as well. So it's not a popularity contest, is it? And I suppose when you're an author and you have a power to write in your books whatever you want to write, because you've got a certain message, every author does. That's when you have to decide, do you want to do the thing for money? Do you want to write the sex in it? Make the main character, make Angelique a bit of a whore, let her open her legs, let Foxtrot just do her. Yeah. You know what? It's disgusting to me. It's disgusting to me when you have that type of thing. There's no need for it. Certain things needs to be in private, needs to stay in private. I can't see why you need to describe the entire sexual scene in 2-3 pages long for other people to satisfy themselves. Yeah, you know what I mean. Same with movies. And you bring, of course, something over. You make it okay. You make it okay. You make it like, oh, that's how these people do it, so I can do it too. I'm not saying that no, I haven't made mistakes in my life. I made mistakes, and I'm sorry about it, and I confessed it to God, not to people. Why will I confess my sins to people? I know the Bible. The Bible says confess your sins, not confess your faults. Yeah, different thing, isn't it? But we spoke about that before. But let's talk about this first Trump administration then after the Soleimani killing, murder, which helped nothing. From an intelligence viewpoint, it was a flippant home goal, which is still reverberating to this very day. Unless, of course, you're a second beast and you wanted to kill the guy who was killing your butas, your people, they called ISIS and and Al Qaeda because they murder Christians. Yeah. Well, if you think about it from that level, most people can't because it's higher than strategic. It's at the level of good and evil. Yeah, then it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? It really makes a lot of sense, especially when you think it's the second beast who did it. Yeah, yeah, bingo. Now you begin to understand. But then look what happened then. Iran then launched a couple of missiles at the US base, and they ran for cover, of course, and they got concussion. Um, I'm sure they got a few medals as well for concussion or shame. Yeah, that's our problem with the US military. You see these guys and they like, they look like Idi Amin, about 20 medals. Oh, shame, shame, shame. It's low standards, guys. If you have a medal, you get the same medal 5 times or 10 times, 9 times. What's that medal worth? It's worth nothing. And who made that medal worth nothing? You. Because you want to please everybody. It's amazing. It's a show of it shows me a bad military. But anyway, let's look at the Trump administration. After Iran then strike back, and they did, and these people got concussion. Then guess what? Then they started lying. Now you expect people like Trump to lie. I mean, you can't. That guy was such a damn disappointment to the world. But they lied 5 times on what happened. 5 times they lied. And it's perhaps a good thing that there were no real casualties there, because then the US would have, attacked Iran then. And what, I don't know. Well, they didn't, which is a good thing. But they kept on lying. That's the thing. Even when they get caught out, they kept on lying. It is a shameful thing to see. It is shameful when a country like that starts acting like a rogue state. Really, it is. It's not something which you want to see. If you read the American Military Might Debunked, the first chapter is called Perception, Perception, Perception. Why did I use those 3 words? Same word 3 times. Because perception in war is everything. It is everything. Because if you feel like you look at what's happening in the Middle East right now, in October, you had to feel a lot of sympathy to the Jewish state. A lot of sympathy. Yes, you can go back further and say that, perhaps should have treated these people better, and then this would not have happened, and it was going to happen anyway because the way they were treated. Yeah, you can go that, but again, when you're standard 6 level, we're talking now, you can't figure that one out. So your perception is automatically, wow, these guys were attacked, oh, this is horrible. Even though most of the crimes which we're being told about is, the babies being beheaded and things are just bullshit. It's not true. It didn't happen. So many people stood up afterwards and say that's not true. So I would like to see evidence of that before I believe it. But anyway, doesn't matter. Practice there was sympathy. But now with the changing of years and the changing of attitudes and the hardening of attitudes and the coming out of pictures in the modern age of people starving, people being abused, people being wiped out while they're driving with their ambulances and in their vehicles, everything is buried. Yeah, buried. Throw a gat and put your evidence in there, but you're so stupid, standard 6, here we go, that you don't remember these guys had cell phones with them, those cell phones made videos, and then it came out. Yeah, came out. You lied. And once you get caught lying, you've lost a lot of credibility. And if you keep on lying, what do you think is going to happen? Your perception is gone. And that's a problem we have with perception. The West, even if you take the story in Russia and Ukraine, the perception is in the West now, standard 6, Russia just attacked Ukraine. Oh, they're a small nation. They have to defend themselves against the commies. The commies don't exist anymore, mate. It's more than a generation now that they don't exist. No. Russia actually today is a Christian state. Yes, it's an Orthodox state. I don't agree with that at all. It's the original Catholic use, which is there, comes from Constantinople. That's where it started, and then it moved out. So I don't agree with a lot of things from a biblical viewpoint with it. But the fact is, we're a Christian state. Okay, so now we're recording without a microphone because they died. So I'll be very quick. Point I'm making here is Soleimani was murdered. He was killed. I stood up for it. I'm very proud I did. I have no regrets whatsoever. And because of that, we got banned from Facebook. Facebook is anyway a useless place to advertise. We once ran an ad on it for Rebecca School. We had 50,000 views within a day or two. And guess how many new clients? Apple. You know how many authors I speak to on legacy conversations and they say the same thing to me? Chris, we spent 2, 3, 4,000 rands on an ad. Oh, we had such nice comments. And you know how many sales we had? Apple. So, don't waste your time and your money with a place like Facebook and social media. I think you've seen now with a great illness, which we don't speak about because we're not allowed to, The one where the truth is now coming out, and that one, as we said to you that there's something wrong and we were banned and we were told we're idiots and we should follow the science, and then it comes out there were actually declarations from more than 1 million scientists who said, you guys are wrong. That is the side, the Fauci we believe. No, not in Jesus, in Fauci we trust. The great, what do you call it? A great declaration or something. Funny these things, because that's where you saw fascism working. What is fascism? Told you before, but let me explain again. Fascism is where state, corporate, and state takes hands. In other words, you have Facebook, F-book as I call it, with F-book, and suddenly it starts doing what the state can't do, because the state can't tell me that I can tell the state, the US government, that I think you were wrong to murder Soleimani and nothing good will come from it. And so they can't stop me. I've got a right of that opinion. I can say it, even if I'm wrong. I can say it. But I can't say it on Facebook. Why? Because it's a private company. It's a private company and they have their rules. And therefore they just say, no, we can't allow you to say that. This isn't really a public square, You are here on our goodness and we will just remove your comment. And we'll just ban you. And they do that, of course, YouTube too. There's every single one of them. I explained that to you. That is fascism. Can you see now? Fascism, how they work together, where corporates can do what state cannot do. That is your classic definition of fascism. That's what you see in the world right now. That is why you should not only read Codename Deborah, which is in audio, hardcover, softcover, all those things, but also read Oath of Evil. Very, very important. But I can just tell you that flares and the things you see on the cover, I took at Bloemfontein when the armor was doing their shooting, the night shooting. It was quite a great thing, and Elsa went there. And it was a magnificent display. It was about a week before I left for Switzerland. So it must have been in 2019. And that's where the cover comes from. And that's the story. God bless. I'll speak again.